Right, part 3. Hopefully you've got something similar with your own photograph or with the photograph that we provided. I just need to quickly tidy up the inner mouth here because that didn't get selected. So new path, take the pen tool and then very quickly draw in the inside of the mouth like so, like we did before, but on the new path, so we can actually then cut it out of the white area that we created. So we can make a selection like so, choose the same amount of pixels, 1.5. Or another way of making a selection is just to click on this icon here, which is grayed out now because I've already made it, but that will allow you to do the same thing, create a new selection, go back to layers, and we can then go edit, cut, and chop a hole in the mouth. Okay, so there we go with our face. Cut into the chalk. Tab again to bring up the floating windows. If I hold Shift Tab, it hides the layers palette and keeps the toolbar there. Another way of doing that, of course, is to press F7 to bring up and hide the layers palette. Now we've got the shape, but it's not looking very 3D, is it? It's looking very 2D, still very flat. So we need to get that 3D effect. And the way we're going to do that is using layer styles. So go to the shortcut for those, and here they all are there. You've got a variety of different options. We're going to go for bevel and emboss. So click on that, and that pops this option here. Now let me just zoom in and show you what we've got. So you can see there it is creating a 3D effect, but it's doing the opposite of what we want to do. It looks like somebody's laid some snow out or something quite thick to create this face. So we want to actually do the opposite of that. So let's change the direction to down. And there, all of a sudden, you've now got a carving into your hill. We need to fine-tune that a bit. We need to decide what sort of style we're going to have. Inner bevel's probably quite sensible, but let's change it maybe to chisel hard just to see what that looks like. Now you've got a very rough, jaggy chisel, but that might be the kind of effect you would get digging into chalk. Let's just exaggerate that to show you how that looks. And you can change the size of that as well, and adjust those values. I mean, that looks a real JCB has been used to dig that hole. Okay, so that's not very subtle, so we're going to take those right down to a level of about 2 pixels there. Maybe change the depth to about 80%. Keep it quite subtle. The other thing you can do, of course, to let's just change it to chisel soft. See that looks a little bit more natural actually. So I'm going to stick with soft. When you're doing something like this, always err on the subtle side. There's a temptation to go over the top with special effects, but the more subtle you are, the less likely people might be to notice how you've done an effect. The third thing to do is to work out where the light source is coming in the image. If I bring the angle of the light to a different position by clicking on here, then you can see the sun is coming from one side and the shadows are coming from the other. So that's obviously wrong because the sun's coming from below the horizon there, and that looks wrong to the human eye. So let's take it up and have it coming sort of fairly flat on, but at a higher angle, which will give us the effect that we like. So once you've experimented with bevel and emboss, click here to get access to all of this. You can then start working on other options. But let's hit tab. You can see the effects have been added there now. I can turn them on and off still, or I could apply them to other shapes that we created just by dragging them to them. But let's hit tab and just sort of take a step back and see what we've got here. How is this beginning to look? Well, it's beginning to have that sort of 3D effect there, but it still looks very slapped on. It's still not part of the image as much as it should be. So in part 4 we'll look at adding a texture to create a more realistic looking chalk